You know, it's easy, and we hear people say, we enjoy freedom of the press or free speech. Well, part of that freedom of the press and free speech on any university campus is an outstanding school newspaper.
The Kernel gives a voice to the students in terms of its opinions page and in terms of telling the stories of the students every day, in terms of news and features stories. No other publication is going and telling the stories of all the students on this campus, and there's a lot of students on this campus.
But it starts 2 weeks before the game.
So they can apply it the 2 weeks before, but the deadline is yours.
Especially for me, reading things from other students, I kind of believe it more just because we're on the same level.
There isn't another organization on campus that day in and day out talks to students and informs students about what's going on their campus, the campus they help pay for, like the Kernel does, like a student newspaper. They're the advocate for students, they're telling students the stories that impact them.
I mean, you can talk in the classroom about what it means to be a journalist, but until you're actually out there as a practicing journalist, you don't understand what that's about.
We were making decisions about which news is the most important, what do people need to know, what goes above the fold, where does that all fit together. And you know, that's something that you can try to simulate in a lab, in a class.
And it had an immediacy about it, and it had consequences, so that it was a real experience.
Among the more important things we do at the Kernel is be a watchdog for UK. We're always putting in open records requests and looking deeper into stories that, you know, sometimes lead to a story, sometimes don't.
But I also think the great thing about student newspapers is they really, I think, when they work well, they do a good job of holding higher administration accountable, holding athletics accountable. You know, the areas on campus that are getting a lot of student money, but that, you know, if it weren't for a student newspaper, might not be getting asked the tough questions.
Yeah. You have to keep it plural.
Before working at the Kernel, I had no idea that I even wanted to do journalism. So it was the Kernel that really made me look into this career path.
The Kernel taught me how to be a communicator. The Kernel opened doors for me that I still get to utilize to this day, you know, 25 years after I first walked in that door.
We're obviously going through, let's say, interesting times in the journalism industry.
I think in a world in which there's a chaos of information, I think there's a really important role for newspapers and which have websites, and in particular for the Kernel.
It's not enough anymore just to be putting out a paper. You've got to be doing stuff with multimedia, and the Kernel, as far as I know, was very early on in having mobile apps associated with the paper, with having more and more rich multimedia content on its website. And so again, that opportunity for our students to see that there still is a very important role for print, but there's also an important role for areas that augment print.
What is going to be the journalism of tomorrow? We don't know.
I feel optimistic about journalism, honestly. You know, I think there's always going to be jobs out there for people who work hard and who want to be in it and who are passionate about journalism.
Somebody still has to have the ability to do that, and I think a college-educated, well-trained journalist will help us all in this thing we call freedom of the press.